unionization of 1099s, which is not allowed under the National Labor Relations Act.
Yep.
And all that's going to come to a head before any driver is unionized, officially unionized, as being they're under a contract. They have to start paying union dues.
All of these companies have all said, and they're not kidding, if every state becomes like this, they leave. The churn rate is way too high. They have too many drivers. They can't be taking on W-2 employees. These are not models meant for this. Never was.
No, exactly. And yet they're trying to do this, as one of the witnesses said in New Jersey last month. They're trying to glean certain portions out of case law that would make it, quote, legal from their opinion. Well, the thing is, one set of attorneys says that's legal, another set's going to challenge that. So you're going to be seeing litigation, and a lot of it. And if there is Supreme Court precedents, and when it comes to the National Labor Relations Act, there's definitely Supreme Court case law, then it's got to work its way through the courts. And whether it's a modification of existing case law or basically a case that strikes down a previous ruling, that takes time. So one area that I've really wanted to work, because I respect rideshare drivers, they're great people, and flexibility is definitely key. Definitely, though, there have been some things, I've learned this a lot from your own podcast here, Steve. Are the apps themselves crossing the line under any classification test? Have they crossed the line out of the independent contractor classification? And I know what I've heard on your podcast. I know what I'm hearing from drivers in Illinois, and that has to come into play too.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I need it to be fixed, not just dismissed or taken to the limit where it gets dealt with in another way, because I do other things other than gig work. So I can't ever have this turn into a model of, oh, you're in a, first of all, if I was going to be, I've said this too, if I was going to be a W-2 employee, the last company I would work for, the last two are Doordash and Uber. I could go score a better job being a W-2 anywhere else. I could throw a rock and do better. So, I mean, that says a lot, because those are the platforms I work to earn on. However, that's on my terms, when I want, how I want, where I want.
Exactly. And what we have here is, that's what independent work is about. Our terms, to market our labor the way we want to market it. Now, the app platforms have given a tool to utilize to do it faster, to do it more very systemically, but that doesn't mean the need for like a rideshare driver or a delivery driver goes away. That's how we got here in the first place. I mean, because you remember, it was taxi cabs. It was basically for deliveries. It was either, before you had Amazon.
That was in 2009, that was Travis Kalanick's reason. He was watching the taxi cab industry fall. And he knew this is not only has this been around my whole lifetime, but it's not sustainable anymore. It is actually a dumpster fire now. There's no fixing it. It's gone. And so he said, why couldn't people just use their cars? That's why it became an independent contractor model. But here we are 16 years later, and there's never been any, it's almost been like, what, you want to talk about the worker status of the gig app employees? Like, let's just kind of not deal with that right now. And now I feel like there's a lot of people going, we got to deal with this.
We do. We have to deal with it. Just basically, are those workers really still independent contractors, or are they now crossed the line to W-2 work, even though they're classified as ICs?
Yes.
We're at that point.
Yeah. And there's 27 million, even if they're part-time, there's 27 million people working on gig apps. There's under 200 million people working in the United States. That's insane.
It isn't. It's mind-boggling. It is. And it's like, well, some elements, these are the extreme elements that I've been seeing and citing, they see this as their opportunity to finally unionize 1099s that is not allowable under the National Labor Relations Act. We do need to have that dialogue. We do need to take this apart, not with the extremes of the PRO Act as is or nothing, or the PRO Act or bust.
Yeah,
You
no.
key amendments. You look at the key amendments that you must make in order to make this acceptable and fairer and allow the American worker to pursue their own dreams, to be their own boss.
Yep.
And the way the PRO Act is set up now under current bills HR 20 or Senate 852, it is not conducive to freedoms that we have in this country. And that's just on the independent contractor front. There are other freedoms that are threatened by the PRO Act as written.
Just even that first prong that usually whatever. No gig worker can even pass that. We're not free and clear of the hiring entity. They have they keep metrics on us. They have tier systems that say when you can't, things that like that. Like, I think they would find gig workers, gig app drivers and workers to be much more agreeable than they think if it just came to some transparency and get rid of your crap metrics.
No question. And I know a lot of your podcasts have focused a lot on Doordash, although I know
they're
DoorDash,
an easy target. Yeah,
they're an easy target, but they're not the only target.
No, not at all. It's not like Uber's much better, and I always clarify that. So I'm not
I got to discuss Uber. I got to bring up Uber because July 4th weekend, my car broke down across state lines. I had to, I couldn't get my rental replacement until Monday, so I had to get towed. So Sunday I had to take Uber, and not city of Chicago Uber drivers, but suburban Chicago Uber drivers, and I said, well, are you looking to want to join a union? And the unionization is not near their top priority, but they feel that, especially after the AI, as one driver put it, that Uber put onto their app in the last year, it might even be the last few months, they're now being tracked by how much they go over the speed limit and getting dinged.
Dude, I don't know how he said getting dinged, because what he's talking about is telematics. Also, it should be known that all of these gig apps that perform those telematics do it illegally, because there are telematics companies that do this professionally. They're doing it off the fitness portion of your phone.
Okay.
That is not true telematics.
Okay. And that's a great clarification, because then now we're getting into, well, some on the extreme end of the spectrum are saying, well, let's just go ahead and put collective bargaining and do unionization for the rideshare drivers. And that's what hit Illinois last month. And now we're kind of shifting away from the DC scene and going into what's happened. And we all know from our good friend Mike Ruby, Massachusetts, they passed their initiative, the ballot question 3 last fall. It passed with 54% of the vote. Well, were they shovel ready to implement that? The answer is definitely no. And yet now you have 3 other states, Minnesota, California, and now Illinois, that are looking at trying to unionize rideshare drivers as 1099, so allow them to keep their classifications. Now, as we know, the National Labor Relations Act, which oversees the union and worker relationship through the National Labor Relations Board, after Taft-Hartley, independent contractors could not be part of union organizing. So the thinking out of Massachusetts and now out of these other 3 states has to be, well, okay, but the National Labor Relations Act doesn't regulate 1099s. Well, that's the difference of opinion, because they do say you cannot be union organizing as an independent contractor. So that's going to be another case, another constitutional challenge to this approach. And nobody has faced that yet because nobody's implemented it yet.
They've had some of the fake benefits like California does too, but the bottom line was $32.50 an hour for active time. Anytime active time is used, that is not a real unit of measurement of time. That is a unit of measurement of time from the app that you hate. So if you're saying I demand we go to active time and you're going to pay me 120% of minimum wage or $32.50 an hour, that company controls your active time. So you can go out and work 10 hours and get 1 active, meaning you made 1/20th of the normal minimum wage in Massachusetts that day. Just wanted to put that out there.
I definitely appreciate the clarification. And certainly, as I've been finding out about, well, what did Massachusetts do? Well, they formed what's known as the App Drivers Union, which is a collaboration between the local 32 BJ out of the SEIU, the Service Employees International Union, and the Machinists and Aerospace Workers Union. So this is basically, you have two unions that are helping to start a new union, which is simply called App Drivers Union, or ADU. Right. Note the name. It's not App Rideshare Drivers Union. It's App Drivers Union. So they're already looking at scaling.
That's kind of what we were coming to, is that it's not going to, this isn't just a rideshare drivers.
Exactly. It's scalable.
It's already aimed at all of the spaces.
Right. And the app companies, the app platforms aren't exactly doing themselves favor with what they've been doing on the metrics. And as you say, utilizing, a phone's metadata to monitor driver performance. But getting back to what's going on in Massachusetts. So what it is, okay, the ADU is currently voluntary. There's no mandatory dues right now because there's no first contract. My understanding is as soon as enough drivers are signed up and sign the card check, and then Uber and or Lyft have to come to the table at that point, but they're not near that. So here we are 7 months after the fact, and the first real collective bargaining has not taken place yet. And granted, there's a startup, and I understand that, yes. But you have the ADU. So once they reach that threshold, and then they have to do the first collective bargaining with one of the platforms. But here's the danger of that mouthpiece. That is right in line with something Kim first warned us about a year ago, and that is sectoral organizing and sectoral bargaining.